Hello, this is Sylvain Carnet, founder of JobMentis.com, the all-in-one career operating system. What do I mean by career operating system to start with? JobMentis is actually a suite in hand the whole process. So start with clarifying your goals, understanding yourself through insights. So we guide you into actually getting to know better what you're good at, what you actually also like to do, and apply this to your work preferences. So it's all about personalizing your experience and your job search as well. Also want you to be able to tailor CV, not the way ChatGPT would write your CV, but the way you would write your CV or your resume. Get more insights on the role themselves. Also prepare for the interview. So CV is important, but it's only a tool that is necessary to get to the job interview. It's the job interview that's going to get you the job, not the CV, and then set you for career growth. So let's have a look at how the platform works. We have a few tools over here on the homepage that are described, a few FAQs. You've got some free guides that you actually can use. So for example, directly download free templates to design the resume yourself if you prefer to do so. But JobMentis, for most of the users, are actually free, and you can have the premium version. So let's skip the onboarding and get directly to the dashboard. This is where you'll get where you sign in. So when you sign effectively, you will see this dashboard, which have some of the key actions you can do. But actually, what's really important to navigate is the nav bar. You can decide if you want more space to collapse or to expand, depending on whether you're on desktop or on mobile. So let's get into some of these tools. So one of the most used feature is actually the CV audit, but we're going to start with the logical step, which is the career reports. We're going to view the insights. As you can see, this is the navigation bar active page. And this is what JobMentis was actually born to do: understand work preference, style, and cultural fits with the companies. So I'm using a pre-filled profile, so things can go faster. But here, let's have a look at the executive summary report. I'm not going to stop and read everything out, but the basic report, which is the only one we have available right now for this level of account, is the basic report, but it's actually not this basic. So it's built on the executive summary, the key learnings, which is the ideal work environment, the work opportunity the person has in terms of how the person can grow. And we're assessing, in this case, someone is pretty junior, so only 3 work experiences. So we outlined what was the best and the least ideal work experience for that person and what they actually learned. The career in numbers, just to give a few highlights, might be interesting, and conclusions, which goes into action. So what's important is, understand yourself, get insights, but what can you do about it? So here are the key insights for the person, piece of advice, and the next step in terms of career, professional next steps, and the path that that person could follow in terms of next roles. So that's one of the key areas in terms of insights. As we're into insights, let's actually have a look at one of the newest reports, is your job AI safe. So again, we're using a report that is already generated. So that person, and we're going to look at the CV later, is a marketing manager. And as a marketing manager group, we observed the observed exposure in terms of what AI can do today is 32% in terms of automation. And theoretically, that could grow probably up to 55%, not more. So some jobs will be highly automatable today and even more tomorrow, some less. But what's really interesting about this is because we have Isabel's CV in this case, we actually know Isabel has done more in her career that actually sets her apart from other people. And therefore, we can find out that only 8% of what she does right now is automated. This is her adaptability in terms of how much at risk is her job. So 85% safety margin. So a job is pretty safe from AI as we are today. We analyze the positive and negative factors and the tasks that are described on the CV. So the key achievements that were described, what Isabel can do in terms of upskilling, so the quick wins, and the longer time development. So what she can do for the next few weeks, for example, or what she can do for the longer term. And in terms of getting safe for the future, we give also a recommendation of roles that she could pursue, for example, or actually design the career for herself. So, and then she can decide to design a new resume for that or get deeper career insights. Let's go back to the dashboard for a bit. As I said, one of the key elements here was the CV audit, which is the way to actually achieve your personalized resume. So we're going to have a look at the CV audit. This is how you launch one. Okay, the CV audit will start automatically. You can decide as a user to be notified by email, and you'll receive an email in a bit. In order to skip that, I'm going straight to the CV signal audit and have a look at real score. So we're going to open an audit that was done. We've got 59% here, for example. And why? Because that person was a marketing manager and she applied for a security lead role and gets to 59% score with a few issues. So we checked 28 different points in terms of how ATS will read and analyze your CV. Those are the key highlights from Isabel's CV and how it also ranks towards the security lead job description. We actually see in terms of details, you've got tooltips everywhere where you can check how things are going, different checkpoints. I'm going forward quite fast because you can do that yourself actually on the platform. This is totally free, by the way, in terms of career insights. Is your job AI safe or the audit? And you can see that there is a severe role misalignment, for example, in terms of a product manager profile or a marketing manager profile, a security person. There was a spelling error in the CV as well, which is actually an issue. And those are the elements that we actually analyzed from the CV, that the elements we gathered. And importantly, we've got the tips, things that should be changed on the person's profile. Now, once we're here, let's have a look directly at how to take action and optimize this resume for this job specifically. So I'm going to open the CV. AI is actually rewriting some of the elements of the CV, so we can speak that. So we can, let's say, decide to skip that and go directly. So I can close this window and AI will rework. If I open the details here, as you can see, AI is rewriting, and we can go through some of the elements here. For example, translation, we can translate the AI is finished. Okay, the optimization is complete. So now the text has been rewritten. We can translate the CV from here. We can align to actually different roles and rewrite the CV for different roles. We can get back to the detailed audit we've just seen, change a template, for example. We're going to change that to tech professional or to maybe, let's say, Athens as another example. From here, we can download the CV. So I'm only sharing that window. You cannot see the result, but it's going to download the PDF version of that CV, which is going to be fully ATS safe. I can edit everything from the CV right here, whether clicking on the left side or on the right side, and it will lead me to the element. So let's take an example here. Professional summary, really important. I want to rewrite it. So what actually can I do? How can I smartly rewrite this? I'm going to highlight that actually I sold 10 million euros worth of goods during this experience. And as you can see, AI is going to rewrite, actually giving me a template that I can apply. I will apply it, and it just rewrites my professional summary. Same thing happens for work experiences. I can decide to actually rewrite some of the elements. So only a given bullet point, for example. So same thing here, actually say growth was 50% and I rewrite this bullet point for a 50% growth. Okay, apply this and this will change. I can decide to delete some elements and they will disappear from the CV, and same thing applies, for all of the elements. Education, for example, I went to university, thanks to the degree in 2026. That's very recent, and that was in San Francisco. Okay. And I can decide that this is actually more important for me to highlight, so I move it to the top. Okay. And this is from ABC degree. Okay, I will update my CV. Great. Now let's go back to the dashboard to see one more feature. So we've seen the reports, we've seen the audit, and we've seen the tailored CV. Now let's go to a very important point, which is tracking jobs. So this is the application tracker where I can have some jobs. I can change the state, for example. Say I've applied to this job. I can search for different jobs. And for example, let me go to careers at Unilever, for example, as a company. I'm going totally randomly on this company. I'm going to explore jobs. So you cannot see my window right now. Search in marketing, which should be relevant for that person, and decide that this is going to be in London. So maybe, okay, London, England. Yeah, okay, let's just take a roll. I'm on the website, copy the URL, go back to JobMentis, here I am, and import. So what I did was search for a role and directly pasting the URL. AI and JobMentis is going to do the magic. It's grabbed the job description, the company itself. Okay, this is Unilever in the UK for a hybrid role, and estimated salary is in this range. I'm going to track this job now. Senior customer account manager. Okay, so this is added on my job tracker, newly added for the demo. And those are all my notes that I can keep there. And the magic actually happens here when we go to the job details. I can edit the job description and the role. As you can see, this is a second row of details, and I can add as much as I want. Intelligence is where the magic happens. So what I can do is run the role strategy brief, which is taking my CV. So the one that I just saved for security lead, which is not the best example here, but let's just take this as an example, and the target job. So I just actually added this job for Unilever, and I'm going to run the strategic analysis. Now, as this is working in the background, we can actually pause for a second and take it right back. Okay, just fast forwarded a few minutes to let the tool work and find out what actually is the fit between the senior customer account manager and our just newly created security lead CV. So as you can see, there is no direct fit, which is one example, but which you would rather say I'm not going to waste time and apply to this job because it doesn't reflect me, Isabel's strength and Isabel's gaps for this role. If I were the company, so this is important for the candidate as well to know what is the company point of view, what are the questions I would ask the candidate? What are the areas that I would invest time in understanding more from the candidate? For a candidate now, the company insights actually give more information on what the company's core value are in terms of cultural alignment. And you can see that here below. What do the employees say about this company and what are the recent news about the company? One highlight also, they are a market leader. The cultural alignment, as said, is an actual check for you whether the company is a good fit for you or not. And if you are invited to an interview, what are the questions that the company is likely to ask you? So yeah, now we can go back to the application tracker. This is the role strategy brief in terms of intelligence. So now we have, as you can see, some cultural alignment insights. We have also, in terms of improvement needed from the CV, so we could actually rewrite the CV. This is the application, so I can generate a new resume, a new CV for this role, and eventually also a cover letter for this role if it's required, or I can decide to actually attach and say, this CV we just managed here, okay, and this is going to be for my role. I can also prepare the interview if I'm invited at a step. So I have the interview tomorrow at 5 p.m. Okay, and I can save that. This is the interview with Mrs. XXX, she's the HR lead, and those are my notes. Very important step. I can also push the transcript of the interview, and that's an important point here because I can actually generate some feedback from the interview after that. So I'm going to save this tape for now and go to the interview studio. Sorry, I went quite quickly on this one. Let's go back to this role. So it's with Mark. I can decide I'm going to prepare it, but I also say I applied, and actually I'm interviewing, as you see, because tomorrow I will be interviewed. So I can go to the interview studio, which is one of their latest features. We're going to see all of the details, but the 4 key elements are the pitch. So how to build your 90 seconds pitch to be really straight to the point. Star training to actually be able to work with your story bank, which is one of the most important and powerful ways to drive interviews. GCC, in terms, if you're familiar with, it's mental performance, and the reverse interview is the last part of the interview, usually where the interviewer will ask you if you have any question. Let's deep dive for 1 second into this. One of the things JobMentis does is look at the specific role and actually generate some questions for your interview. So here's a set of questions that could be asked already for this role. So I can see, generate more questions, or I can wait. Actually, as you see, the job match is being worked on, and I have new questions that are being actually taken from the job description. So I can decide whether they're good for me, and I generate more matches again, and I can add this question to my deck. The same way I want to ask some strategical question, and I asked here, or I want to ask for company culture detail, and I ask this one here. Okay, I've saved my deck. I have 3 out of 5 questions. Usually you won't have time for 5 questions, but depending on how the interview goes, you can decide. So 2 red flags question, and I have 5 questions in 4 areas. We recommend you ask questions in different areas, so your deck is actually very balanced, and you can switch then to interview mode directly and see your questions deck. And that's where you can save the questions, the answer A, B, C from the candidate and from the interview, and you can actually save this. So that's one element. We're not going to cover the other right here, but we already spent over 20 minutes. So I hope this is interesting for you. And one of the objectives clearly from JobMentis when you're in the application tracker is to actually, one thing we didn't do in the optimizer, when we create a new CV, we take the base CV, whether from an audit we have just run or from an existing resume, or by uploading a fresh new one. We can check for a job description. So let's say head of product marketing, which might be a good one for our candidate Isabel, or go directly from this given role. So we choose whether to target for a given market job title, or we can go to a proper job, and then we optimize the resume for this job. Because this task can take 3 to 5 minutes, and you can choose to be notified by email, and we receive the report later. So we saw what the resume optimizer does. We can leave the page now, it's safe. So what the resume optimizer actually does is matching the job to your description. This one was a really short first version of the CV. And let's take the security lead role that we also edited. So that was the JobMentis edited version of the CV for a quite junior profile. And the job was actually tailored to the security lead role, and we could have done something slightly different. Again, this is a high level overview of what JobMentis can do for you. It took over 20 minutes. I hope you're still with me, and looking forward to answer your question or for you to use the tool. Thank you.